Good morning, friends. If you are seeing this, I have been successful. Hello. I have been wanting to see Shelby Oaks. In fact, I flew to America to Fantastic Fest hoping to see the film, but I have not been able to secure tickets. And I am still trying right now. So if you're seeing this, we made it. I have it. But right now, as you can see, everything is sold out. Everything's gone. But Shelby Oaks, let's talk about this for a second. The film, directed by Chris Stuckman, is about a woman's desperate search for her long-lost sister, and she falls into an obsession, realizing that something from their childhood may be real. So of course, it's being a Chris Stuckman movie, I have been invested. I do have a little bit of a personal connection to the film, but I want to let you know I don't have any stakes. I'm hoping for the best, and I am very eager with anticipation. I have not even seen the trailer. I just know the concept and have been following it for a couple of years. But like you guys, I want to go on blind, and I'm going to take you to the Fantastic Festival premiere, if I can get in. And I'm gonna give you my spoiler-free, honest reaction to Shelby Oaks, a highly anticipated film where we follow a director who has gone through being a YouTuber, a reviewer, a film reviewer, into directing his own film. The movie has had a little bit of a rocky production release because there was reshoots, re-edits, and even Mike Flanagan stepped in to help reshape this movie. Outside of YouTube, this film has had a really interesting production schedule because Neon acquired the film, and then 8 months later, they changed parts of it. They did some reshooting, re-editing, and they polished the movie. So I'm very excited to see what ended up on the big screen. I'm gonna let you know spoiler free whether it's worth your time, so come with me and let's go see Shelby Oaks. I need to get ready, but come with me. Hopefully we'll get a ticket. Hi friends, I just saw Shelby Oaks. I can't believe I got a ticket, number one. I'm so happy I got to see that in that cinema with Chris himself. But that was not what I expected at all, but in a good way. Although I will say this is gonna be a film for a very particular kind of horror audience. Found footage fans, I'm looking at you, but it's not gonna be exactly what you expect. The thing is, this film does something very special, bringing found footage into 2025 in a way that it hasn't before. It's almost like this film has been years in the making, I know that. But through its progression, somehow it was well forecasted to a lot of things and a lot of trends that are happening right now in horror. And I thought that was a super interesting angle, but it also, I have so much to say, I need to calm down. Also, I found it to be a really interesting debut feature from Chris Stuckman because it has his own flair to it, and I don't think that he was going to try and mimic or mock anything. I know that he had a lot of films that were inspiration for this, but I still think it stands alone, and I think that's a really interesting way to come into found footage because it's known to not be quite original. And I wouldn't say that this film is super original, but the way it's structured and put together is, and he definitely sticks to his own style. I was impressed by that. I know that the film had a little bit of help from Mike Flanagan, who came in and adjusted some things after. I mean, it was a long process getting this film done. Chris talked about at the end about how many years and how it started off small, and then they kept, Neon gave money to it, and then Mike Flanagan came and did all that.
So it has changed a lot, and I think it's really cool that it kept still a unique kind of flair that doesn't feel manufactured or trying to be anything else too much. Found footage is always going to feel like other found footage films, but I still think that it had its own kind of style, and so I'm kind of proud of him for sticking to his guns. This film is really hard to talk about spoiler free, but this is why I do these videos, because this film is for found footage fans, but it's also going to be a great payoff in the cinema. The film starts as a mockumentary horror where we follow a woman who is being interviewed, almost like a sit-down Netflix interview where she talks about her sister who has gone missing, and we bring up found footage pertaining to her disappearance. From there, I had no idea where this would go, and I think it is 50-50 on sticking most of its reveals. The film is definitely an unwinding mystery throughout the whole thing. I could not guess what was coming next, but because of the way it was immersive for the viewer, it just made it so much more enticing. No matter what was going to happen with these characters, I was just interested to see how the story unraveled, because this is where the unique aspects come in. I don't want to give anything away, but if you see this in cinemas, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It has a point of difference that literally gave me goosebumps. There was something that they do with the stylization that really sold me, but it is for found footage fans who are gonna want to continue the process and follow it all the way down. It's hard because this film does, I wouldn't say over-explain itself, but maybe. I feel like I can revisit this, and there was a bunch of stuff that was happening that I really want to dive into, so I probably will do a spoiler video down the track when it's out, for me to rewatch. But it had a lot of detail to the story, but I really did not know where the themes were going to land. And I do think for some audiences, the reveals and how much they reveal may be a deal breaker. I think this is going to be 50-50 with a lot of people, but I do appreciate what he did with the unique direction. For a first feature film, it really sets him apart, or makes it very apparent that he will only make films, just put words in his mouth, he will make films that have a point of difference. And that is what I like. Whether it lands all the time, but as long as it has a unique approach, I cannot fault that. And I'm a huge found footage fan, so obviously it hit really well for me. I will say it was very interesting with the documentary elements, because it's a very soft documentary, and I'm so used to watching found footage documentaries or mockumentaries which have kind of harsh clips. Of course, it's a mix of, news, YouTube videos, and then, the found footage themselves, and then the interviews. But it was a very soft, like I said, kind of like Netflix interview with this, the beautiful soft music in the background. And I was kind of questioning that approach. So I thought that was kind of different, and I was worried it was going to be too soft throughout. But the film does have gore. It does have shocking reveals. I'm not saying it's disturbing, but I was definitely shocked by some of the gore in it, which I was not expecting at all. Like I said, this one is a winding mystery that you just kind of have to follow along. And if you're down for a ride like that, I think it is worth your time. If you are thinking about seeing it at all, you should see it at the cinema, because there is something that is so unique to it that will work so much better at the cinema. But also, it does that beautiful thing that we love on big screen horror that has a lot of wide shots or shots in the woods, where we see certain things. Things are more apparent when we have a larger screen to look at. So I really enjoyed looking at all of those elements. Reveals in this film, I think, might be its letdown with some audience members. And to be honest, I would thought it was like hit and miss. That's why I keep saying 50-50. Some of the things I absolutely loved. It was scary. I jumped twice maybe. I yelped a little. That's what I love in found footage as well, when it's actually scary. So it was fun to see a movie that took it back to its roots with being a scary found footage, but also pulled it into 2025 and somehow ties in with a lot of other horror movies that are doing well right now. A lot of, I guess, trending things. I honestly didn't think I'd see a found footage in 2025 that had a point of difference, and this one does. So I do think it is worth your time. The other thing I do want to say is it has a lot of screeching violins, which I love personally. So you have the soft music, the screeching violins, but there is a very huge gaps in between dialogue. It's not a dialogue heavy film. I don't know if I was expecting it to be, especially with found footage, but I just thought that was interesting. Long stretches with nothing to say, so, very much relying on its visual representation. As for the color grading, I just want to talk about this quickly. I need to ask eventually about this, especially if I do a spoiler video, but it was very highlighting like kind of cooler tones, but then also had the contrast with the warmth. It was kind of like the whites weren't super white. They were kind of like this cream based, and it felt really pointed. It was like you were at home for all of the home scenes, the scenes in their house where she's getting interviewed, but it's not warm. So I thought that was a really interesting approach. So keep an eye out for that. Lots of good contrast, and at some points it feels extremely scenic, lots of fog, and it's a very strange mix from the footage. All of the footage, it just is completely disjointed, which again, I liked that as a winding mystery. It was a found footage that was theatrical, if I can tie that up into a bow and give it to you spoiler free. I loved seeing that element. I don't know the last time we had a found footage in the cinema, worldwide release, because I personally did not get Hell House. So I really enjoyed seeing this one on the big screen. And going along for the journey, it was definitely a funky structure, but I think that is what sets it apart. Overall, this film was completely different than what I expected, but for found footage fans, it's gonna have a point of difference what will make you wanna go see it in the cinema. Whether the reveals and everything, that the mystery, where it winds, where it leads you, if you like that, I'm not gonna say you're gonna love it. It's gonna be up to the individual viewer, but it will take you along for an immersive experience, which is quite spooky and scary to me, and has a lot of fun, shocking moments. So I promise that there are things in this film that you will not be able to predict, and for me, when I hear that, I'm always down. I'm gonna give this one a personal score of 7. It was such a fun experience seeing in the cinema, and of course I'm gonna be very honest with my feedback on this one, but what a fun... Guys, one of my best days alive, honestly. Even though there were parts of the film that I didn't enjoy to the fullest extent, I just really enjoyed seeing this kind of filmmaking, something different, and something that wasn't trying to bend and be like something else, which I appreciate. For originality, I'm gonna give it a... Style? It's so hard. I'm gonna give it a 6. For scare, I'm gonna give it a 8 for jump scares. I'm just gonna say it's gonna be jump scares, it's gonna be jumpy, it's the found footage scare, it's following someone around, waiting for something to happen, that kind of anticipation scare. So you're not gonna be trembling, maybe. You're not gonna be scared afterwards, you're not gonna be scared something's gonna follow you home, I don't think, but in the moment, it worked really well as an immersive experience. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and coming along, and thank you for all of your kind comments. I'll talk to you guys very soon. If you wanna see some recent videos I've done, if you want to hang out with me a little bit longer, stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.